What up, Schmoedown rockers? Well, back to Mondays, I guess. I'll try for Saturdays. That's my update for y'all since this thing's changed up a bit. But anyways, yeah. Back to 2 matches a week. We are now starting round the... I believe it's the Elite 8 or something of this nature, because now we're at the final 8, or at least the first half of this current round 3. Eventually we'll be getting to the semifinals after this week's matches when they come up. For now, first half of these Elite 8, starting with Liz Shannon Miller versus William Bibbiani. Going into this, it was going to be an interesting match regardless. Also, back to the point of normal, to the point where I can actually, my patronage comes into use, so I can keep up without having to work, to where I can still see a match and not have it completely affect me. I have time to marinate, even though that one didn't need to marinate as much. It was a good match, regardless. And that good of a match, it was very, pretty much down to the wire of the 5-pointers, is what it amounted to. It was more the fact that she got an opponent's choice, it seemed, and spinner choice situation. The difference is that got one unfortunate question that, honestly, let's face it, the Underworld movies aren't something that I think Bibbiani or most people, including myself, would even consider as straight-up horror, and would rather fit in the sci-fi fantasy category, yet alone possibly action-adventure. So that one definitely affected it, not to mention, I mean, it was opponent's choice, and the fact she managed to get through most of them, despite like a 1-point steal, I think, from Bibbs. But or at least I don't think that happened. I think it was more that she got through all her questions and into 1 point, which kind of, it was more a similar situation to just knocking a certain thing off the board that they didn't like, not realizing that that person might have put it on the wheel. So it was one of those situations. And then, of course, oh boy, this was a full legacy fight, and apparently I forgot that they had already fought each other literally in last season. So this is apparently the follow-up of Riley versus, and she got a really tough one and managed to pull it. One that was unquestionable of a pull, like on par with Adam Witt's pull. As far as like if we're comparing anything to this season in terms of 5-point pulls, or if we are being recent, what happened with Riley to get him into this round 3 match that we'll be talking about in a minute. And which means whoever Snyder is clearly going to be facing the winner of either Ethan Irwin or Tom, which is a lot more up in the air than you would think. But if there is going to be a massive F-up upon the level of what happened with Jader, I don't think that's going to work out nearly as well. And plus, might be the last time we see the one dude. Plus that time of year where it wouldn't matter. But anyways, yeah. That was great. I mean, it sucks on Riley because this is the last we'll get to see of him. And yeah, y'all all thought I was going to do it there. I was, but apparently I get distracted easily, if you hadn't figured that out. That's why it took me so long to finally do an album review thing. Not that I didn't, listen to albums. You'll know how many I have when I do my catch-up sometime either this week or next week. It's going to be within those 2. And then eventually I'm going to get to the 2 albums that have an anniversary this year that'll start a marathon that I was supposed to start months ago, but COVID fucked everything, and me being able to catch up and do what I wanted to do. And then I had a new plan I wanted to do with one of those plans, just to be cutesy, fucking cutesy as shit. So, and I was actually decided I was gonna do something and break a certain rule, but since it had nothing to do with this specific thing here on Schmoedown Rocks, it fingers crossed on that decision happening. But it'd be the only time I will. That's my exception. But you'll get what I mean when it happens. But regardless, as far as back to this, Snyder and them, it was a solid matchup. The thing that kind of did it in was that 2-point steal in round 2, which he was already 2 points behind, but that 2-point steal made it a 4-point difference, made it more of a 4 to 5 point difference, or as it turned out, a 6-point, which meant he had to basically get through all of it and have to pull out the 5-pointer out of his butt like he did before, and it was even one that Snyder said was a tough 5-pointer for him. He would have said the same exact thing. Once again, it's more honestly, it seems in this case, Snyder, I wouldn't say Snyder had an easier road, but it's turning into a much easier road even though Ethan had a much easier road than Snyder, so Snyder was coming close. It's just he had a 5-pointer issue, and he's going to probably have that same issue. I don't know what him and Roxy are planning strategy-wise going in, but I think they're more preparing for Ethan than Tom. I don't know if they're going to be able to prepare for Tom, character-wise, or how to fight to go against that. How he's going to be able to go against that. Good luck with that. I think the main strategy they probably will realize is doing enough to basically probably more so fuck not so much with Tom, but with Kate. Because clearly, Kate can't read into kayfabe very well. And it seems she's screwed over her own player twice this season now. Enough to say that if it happens again and he loses, he's gonna want, I think he's gonna want someone who understands the kayfabe and knows how to play into it better. And it's gonna be, and I'm hoping, honestly, despite, it's just bad luck is what is happening. And this COVID thing has fucked everything up for my dungeon. The best thing we can do is not be dead last, and what we can do is hope to God, and I don't like doing this to Jader, because Jader cool, but cool, and I don't know what to think of Hannah anymore after I shouldn't be happy with him, but I like Sabrina, and clearly he more than likes Sabrina, so that really puts me in an even bigger spot, and I think part of it also had something to do with her involvement in helping him with his channel a little bit at times. Not to mention that one thing where the episode of Sin was funny. But anyway, like a couple weeks ago where they're at a haunted house. It seemed Halloween-y because it's the Halloween month. But anyways, that match itself was really tight. I mean, unfortunately, he blanked on the one, and he could have had a chance to where he could have gotten to where it would have tied up, and it wouldn't have been so bad going in, and maybe Riley would have had more of a shot instead of that 2 points, and it would have been just a small 2-point swing. It wouldn't have been too bad, and it would have forced at least Snyder to answer questions, and it would have been a TKO. Which is what sucks, and that's the last match he'll ever get a chance to, because Who's the Boss ain't going to be able to, because Founding Fathers didn't get the job done, and they figured comparatively to the two teams that he knows he has on hand, he was hoping both of them would do well enough to where they'd wind up facing each other so it wouldn't hurt as badly going into the following season. And it sucks more because I think that's why I would have loved to use the Boss to beat Shazam, because they needed a chance to finally be that team, and it would have worked out better. I don't know how this would have turned out, but if they did something similar but in team format. But yeah, it would have been nice to finally see redemption for all those times and finally getting a chance to win, because they've never played as well as they did as they had in that first run, and that even despite the hiccups, they did well enough against Shirewolves. It was just more the fact that Shirewolves managed to pull a really good 5, get lucky with their 5. Or at least were able to be lucky enough to pull it. But they needed to, because in the circumstances of that, because it was the only way for anybody to finally to make or break the Shire Wolves and pretty much set in stone their legacy without people bitching about it. Fuck those trolls. But anyways, that's the thing that was the biggest bummer of it all, because they shouldn't. I really shouldn't. And he got his footing back, but granted, it was against Perry, who's a okay player that starting to seem potentially more into a good player because of having a manager like Coy. And it was just more the fact he pulled his 5-pointer, and the one that she had was way more difficult. It was just a matter of the luck at that point. But it was done, but he was able to pull the 5-pointer, which is chance of a Riley of old, but Snyder was on a roll, and he was on the roll with it in his case, and at the very least we can say he still got enough of it in him, but it just sucks because he's somehow going to wind up still at a lower end, even though he's like at least won 3 out of 1 matches in terms of singles. So it's just, and they were on a good roll. It's just the studio thing and COVID really screwed it up, and any chance of Who's the Boss ever being the team that was supposed to have it happen. And I think that if not for COVID, a lot of the good things like Smasher possibly being the first in a long time to retain his belt should have fucking happened. Regardless of what he says, I do believe he would have been able to get out of his own head in a different setting. Given the way he still managed to play as well as, even for being his weakest game. And then same with Who's the Boss. I don't think that would have been, and it would have been a tighter match just as much as their match between them and an Odd Couple. So, and we're never going to see a grudge match, which is probably going to suck even more, given the way that turned out, and it's going to be a huge, hard to bounce back from anyway. If they're even going to be a team, depending on how things go, and if he's going to even be drafted anymore. I think he still will be. I just think he's going to be lower in the tier unless somehow. There's no way to bounce back since Bateman wasn't able to get the belt, which would have helped him in a way in a similar kind of situation-ish, maybe, depending on how well he would have done in the tournament, which he did fine. It's just Snyder was on a certain roll, and it just worked out in his favor, and it sucks because now I don't think Riley's legacy should be ever be questioned. And he can't end it. So, despite what Roxy will say, I think he's and I think once we get back into studio, that's when people will realize it's just the way things were in that setting, and it took him a longer time to bounce back, and even by that point, it was a tougher match, and he needed to be back completely locked in the zone, and I think that 2 points still fucked him completely, and that 5-pointer was just fucking ridiculous. So I think he would have done it if not for that 5. I think that 5-pointer, if it wasn't as ridiculous as it was, and he was able to pull it, I think it would have worked, and I think it would have worked out. Not to where at the very least he would have forced him to answer like a couple questions. So I'm hoping Riley doesn't get like shelved for next season, despite what freaking Gilmore and Janish will say. I'm really hopeful for you guys, and I don't want it to be the last of Riley. I want between him and Bateman, I want them to finally, having gone through 2 teams already, between the 2 of them, they need to find a way to work together again. I don't think Who's the Boss should end. I think because I still think that team that got started and had that run in Anarchy is still that fucking team, and they were getting close to it. It's just COVID fucking destroyed the momentum. And this virtual thing was something that was harder for the both of them to get used to because that was rough, which was rough. both, and that's what it was, because I feel like Bateman could have had his chance to actually get it. It's just things weren't as well as it should have been, and I hope that they find a way. Bateman's already finding his own way. I don't know about Riley, but hopefully if he's not with Vinstock, which I doubt he will be, which at this point I kind of doubt he will be. I don't, given Barbarian and depending on how well Founding Fathers do. Though if Founding Fathers don't work out, I don't really think he's going to want to keep Roca anyway. And plus, Riley and Roca as a team would be an interesting team anyway, regardless. And I think they could bounce off of each other really well. It would be a good backup team. I don't think it'll live up to as much well as Founding Fathers, but it sure shit will be better than what we wound up getting out of top 10. In between top 10, yet alone, what unfortunately happened and shouldn't have happened with team champs. But, you know, that should have been a team that should have kept going, though, to be honest. But, well, and as far as what's coming up, Brendan the Kid Meyer versus Collins. I understand most people want to pick Collins, but I think Brendan Meyer will actually finally get to have Collins down to the wire and finally get him to actually test to see if he can hang. I don't believe that that there's no way he's not putting up with it and it's going to be another breeze for him. No way. I don't believe that with this match, which I'm going to be able to see as a Patreon. And then, of course, the Tom versus which more so can go either way. I understand most people possibly backing Ethan and wanting to see, the rematch between him and Snyder. But I think Tom, but given how things had played out within Time Machine versus, this is a follow-up to what happened with a previous teams tournament between Time Machine and gosh darn it, I know it's him and Video Drew, and I'm forgetting. Why am I forgetting the team? And it makes me mad. But anyways, yeah, that follow-up to that match, and it was awesome. And which was an awesome and a surprise of an upset. Some people didn't even think that oh man, I loved that match. So yeah, I'm loving what that match is. It could go either way. Tom, I wouldn't be upset. I'd love Tom to make that kind of an upset. So, and yeah, I'm done with my Dungeon Bias up until teams, where luckily some people are at least not discounting misfits. But I understand people who won't miscount what happened with Perry. But the difference, Perry, but Wit knows how to. It's not. You've sure he only played Star Wars, but he still has his experience in playing, at least in teams, alongside. And Zipper's kind of a triple threat. Him and Wit are the best available players, in all honesty. Despite Adam Witt's record does not really truly reflect the player he is. Because you don't pull a 5-pointer like that and then unfortunately have the issue that he had where he couldn't pull his, and then he had to face, that's the thing. It was just an unfortunate thing. You had to face a fucking Damon, Molly Damon specifically. So, he wasn't able to get the run he should have had. But that's why with having Molly, it was, he just had it was just bad luck, and just the way things played out in bracket, it was kind of a cheap move to even give Witt a chance. Ugh. Plus, everyone involved was Star Wars tournament was tight, all around anyway. All around, as far as I'm concerned. Despite, and Ace is going to be. Ace could possibly do it, but given how he played in IG, I could see him focusing back in on Star Wars and I don't know if Ace is going to be able to pull it. I'd like to see him do it, but but given what's further motivation he's had after losing to a champ like a former two-time champion Kalinowski in these semis, like getting out. Of course, it's like that bad luck fucked him is what it was. I cannot wait to see how these are going to turn out. I mean, Collins and Shannon will be interesting because both of them were players that nobody thought was going to make it as far as they were, even though I feel like some people, in Collins' case, it's a similar Smets, Oyama, and freaking Chance kind of a situation, despite, in the sense you don't sleep on those guys. Especially given Liz had to go through what she had to go through to get to her point, Liz might have more of a shot than Collins. But if he's able to pull out the victory against him in a tight match, in the kind of tight matches Liz has had to play, then maybe there's a chance he can beat Liz. But but the fact that he even made it to semifinals, it should be enough. Would make it to semifinals should be enough to still put him in contention for Rookie of the Year, regardless. Even if he's not fully Player of the Year, but he may more likely win Rookie of the Year. Between that and depending on how well they do in the teams match, if they're able to, beat Lethal Weapons, which I don't even know if he's going to be able to deal with the virtual thing. But now that he has someone to bounce off of with Ethan, I think it will work better in like a studio or a live setting. Just setting, honestly. But we'll see how he does once more virtually. And if for some reason they're not able to beat Deception, it's going to make Sam look stupid. Real stupid. They know he can't sleep on them, and after how things with Bateman, he's got to step it up and show that his teams is his forte, and having someone like Ethan to bounce off of it will help him for sure. So Collins is going to definitely need to at least do well enough in singles, because I don't know if he's going to be able to do it. And I think a bigger test to prove potentially is if he does get to semifinals, does win it, and Ethan winds up beating Snyder, and we have that as our finals. That would be a bigger test to really see how Deception Lethal Weapons is going to go, since we're literally going to be seeing the two better individual players of those teams go at it. And I think that would gauge better that team's match without question. And given what we kind of did see out of Marquis and, and she's able to beat Irwin. Yeah, Deception beating Lethal Weapons is looking more likely. That's how that's going to happen. I do believe that the fact that Zipper was able to go toe-to-toe with her, and not to mention Adam did fairly decent, played really damn well. I mean, or at least had a way better showing in his Molly Damon match, despite the fact he wasn't able to pull a 5 out of, like he managed to do against Sullivan. So, he's not, even though he seems like he's the weaker half of that team, the teams that they had previously been in, well, the way he managed Vinny in the play-in, way better than Tom ever bothered to, because part of me kind of thinks he doesn't know how to... Gucci's... It's between the virtual thing mostly, but I also think it's also the fact that I don't really think he knows how to manage the ladies all that well. Or at least he hasn't had a chance to really prove it to us. So, yeah, in terms of Schmoedown. So, yeah. But we'll see, Gooch. I mean, and given how things happened and that freaking thing, I know you were, the thing is, I think he was speaking in code on how to try to play for, because it's similar to the verbal code he had between Dan and Ben. It wasn't answers that he was giving so much as I think he was trying to do what he needed to do for Riley the way he was, without in terms of whatever codes he needed to give him in terms of strategy. And this was a code word or something. Apparently, now he's got to figure out a new way to make code words that don't sound like answers to movie trivia fucking questions going forward into the Founding Fathers match. Oh my God. I mean, I understand that the Misfits don't win, but God damn it. They need to win their play-in match at the very least, and the Jader and the Category 9 needs to not win the match against Odd Couple. At all. If I am going to make sure, if I'm going to at the very least make sure to see my players not be dead last. That my team, my faction, not my faction I still hold dear to my heart, despite how much it's fucking broken it, not be dead last, or at least fucking 2020 destroying my faction in front of my eyes is not fun, because I needed something to hang on my hat on, dude, with how things have been this year, and it's one that hasn't. I mean, that's why I'm bummed about it. It's like, yeah, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't know anyone else that's going to want me in a band. I mean, I might still hear from them, and I wouldn't mind doing that shit, you know? But anyways, sorry, I was just spacing on that one. My bad. But overall, that's what I'm looking forward to for the teams. That's all we got for Finstock as exchanges out. Bibbs surprisingly didn't play near perfect, which is what he nearly as perfect as he did in his last match, which is probably what he was going to have to do. Which, I mean, that's how good Barbarian is, and that's apparently also how good Liz Shannon Miller is. So, we shall see how that plays out. I'm happy for what we're getting now a little bit more, since I can't deal with bias anymore, even though personally I'd rather have Tom, my only other one player I do like, and not gonna lie, despite me slightly running out of ideas with it, I still like seeing like my usual stuff I've been doing with his character. So one more time with that, probably. Don't be surprised. But yeah. What did you guys think? Leave a comment below. Let me know of my thoughts, and what are your thoughts on the matches this past week and going forward, and what are your thoughts on the teams, and hopefully the future of the Schmoedown, if it's still a thing. Also, I would have probably recorded this yesterday, but I got to, unfortunately, I was only able to, ATVs will tell you. Unfortunately, Gucciverse called. Yeah, I'm in the Gucciverse. Apparently, it happens when Kaiser does a show, so of course, Kaiser does a show, and technically, between him and them are fellows to the action guys. So apparently we've managed to dip our toes in both ways. So other than that, what did you guys think? Anyways, what did you guys think? Leave a comment below. Let me know. As always, guys, keep it random, keep it real. As always, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'm rocking movies with Tyler. I'm Tyler. This is rocking movies with Tyler. And if you smell what the movie trivia Schmoedown rocks, Scamming Entertainment, and so on and so forth, is cooking. Ooh, yeah, dig it. What you gonna do? What you gonna do, brother? When the Gucci Bear / call sign Bear Trap movie trivia Schmoedown rocks runs wild on you.